If you have a friend suffering from suicidal thoughts, depression, what do you do? So 8 years ago, my best friend of 18 years committed suicide. I never noticed anything was wrong until the day I found out he had passed. After that, hindsight was 20/20, and I couldn't believe I never noticed all the hints that were there all along. I spent a long time blaming myself. I noticed them now. Why the heck didn't I notice them before? But, at the end, there was nothing I could do about it anymore. My friend was gone. So, instead, once I quit blaming myself, I made a vow. From then on, I wouldn't let it happen again. Anytime somebody I knew was showing any of the signs I had come to recognize, I reached out to them, even if it was somebody I didn't know super well. I've now done it 3 times. Once for a former co-worker who had been laid off, once with a university classmate who was having trouble in her marriage, and once with a high school classmate who I noticed posting some very strange things on Facebook. Hadn't spoken to him in years, but we knew each other, and he knew my friend who had died. Here's the advice I would give. 1 right off the top. Most important, you gotta let them know you see them struggling and that you are on their side. Don't do it in a confrontational way. It can start with something as simple as, is everything alright? Make sure they know you're not trying to intrude and insert yourself, but that you want to help. My go-to line has always been, if you don't want to talk about it, you can tell me to butt out, but I wanted to make sure everything's okay. And then if they tell you to butt out, you damn well butt out. But ended with, if you ever need to talk to somebody, just know I'm always here. 2 If they do open up to you, just listen to them. Don't try to resolve their issues for them, because, unless you're a trained psychologist, you're not equipped to do that. If they tell you, for example, that their girlfriend broke up with them, say that's terrible. Tell me what happened. Not that's terrible. What can I do to help? In certain cases, people just need to vent all their frustrations and they need a person who is just going to listen to them. Not make all their shit go away, but listen and truly feel sympathetic to them. Just knowing somebody cares enough to actually listen to you is a very reassuring thing. 3 If they start telling you things that are causing their depression, under absolutely no circumstances whatsoever should you tell another living soul about it. Even if the person that is causing them to have suicidal thoughts is somebody you know. Even if you think that person would be reasonable about it. Even if you think you can resolve the issue by telling somebody else. Don't do it. They opened up to you and only you. If they wanted somebody else to know, they would have told them. 4 Encourage them to get some help, if at all possible. One of the biggest issues is that they think getting help makes them weak. The stigma is starting to lift, but it is definitely still there. If you think they're a very serious threat to themselves, then try everything you can to break down that stigma and convince them to get some help. Those are my 4 points. I hope they are helpful. These are the steps I have followed, and I like to think have been somewhat successful to varying degrees over the past 8 years. I know it can seem daunting to put yourself out and offer to help your friend in need, but I promise you that it's worth it and a lot better than the alternative. Also, make sure to look after yourself in this process. Being there for a depressed and or suicidal person is not easy. Once they start opening up, you might hear some things that are very dark and that you may not have wanted to hear, and hearing those things can bring some darkness into your own life too. So always make sure you are looking after yourself too. If you need any other advice or want help writing a message or something to your friend, you can always DM me. I'm always happy to help, even if it's a complete stranger. If you feel comfortable doing so, ask them more questions about it. It's especially important to ask if they have a plan or means to fulfill their plan, as these can be signs that they're considering attempting soon. Here's a good article summarizing some advice and linking to some really great resources. Link. You should definitely consult the experts on this one. I sincerely hope your friend pulls through. They're lucky to have a friend like you in their life. I feel very uncomfortable giving people advice when they are dealing with things I don't understand. I've been depressed and had problems, but no one has the identical problems and identical depression. It feels fake and I don't appreciate it. And to me, I do agree with you about asking questions though. I always thought it would be too forward, but when I started I found that people more often than not very much want to talk more. And if they don't want to talk, they will say it without highlighting anything against you, likely even getting back to it. I also learned this recently. Friends shouldn't stop themselves from just talking either. Out of fear they have nothing smart or deep to come up with in that moment. Really, no one needs you to have perfect well-written words and sage advice. You can still just talk to your friend about random stuff that pops into your head. Share funny things. Discuss unrelated stuff. Your friend might appreciate the distraction. And if they can't get into it, they'll still prefer hearing from you than not. And even a simple but regular "how are you feeling today" is okay. I think it's more important for a person to know they have someone who thinks of them and cares for them, which is demonstrated through time, rather than to get some perfectly worded reply with advice they probably are already aware of that just seems to push them on to someone else. Pushing too much about therapy and medical professionals. Do the best thing someone can do. Be there for them and listen to what they say. Don't offer some shit advice to them or tell them it gets better, but instead give them someone to lean on in their times of trouble. And I can say this for sure, having been someone who was helped out of depression and suicide by just someone who stood there, listened to what I had to say, and goddamn it felt so much better. People who are depressed often become silent. They'll stop texting, calling, and using social media. That's when you need to reach out and pull them back into your circle and hug them tighter. There's usually a reason why. Finding out may be tough, but you might just save a life if you sit down and listen to them. As the depressed friend, this is exactly right. Depressed people often isolate themselves because they don't want how shitty they feel to propagate onto their friends, which they think will make their friends start to hate them. You need to keep talking to them, even if they don't reply or just give one-word answers. Just keep sending them messages. You might not think it is helping, but I can assure you it is. Just be there for us and let us get stuff off our chest. You don't need to say you know how it feels or come up with solutions. Just being able to talk and not be interrupted is enough sometimes. Hey OP, I have friends that have taken their own lives. The amount of suffering that they go through is intense, and it might be more than you can handle. It's okay if you need space now and then. It takes a lot of emotional labor to help someone in that position. Recognize your own efforts as you make them, because your friend may be unable to appreciate it in the moment. It's not their fault. Depression can be straight up blinding. It's important to keep in mind that their actions aren't your fault, and not to blame yourself if they get angry or frustrated with your help. They probably don't want to feel that way either. Thank you for caring. I was in this position a while ago. Had the plan, the looping thoughts, that it was the only way to end the pain I was feeling. I knew there was something not right with me, so I found a good therapist, which gave me someone to talk to. As problems this deep pushed away anyone who tried to help me because they didn't have the right words or capacity to deal with it. A year later I'm doing much better. Professional help is the way to go. Psych here. These are some of the things my clients have found most helpful. Listening without judgment or giving advice. This above all. Reassuring them that you are there for them. Reaching out and staying in touch, as they might not be able to reach out to you. When and if they're already suggesting gently you do a simple, easy activity you enjoy together. Internally value their company existence. They probably can't see any value in themselves in their current space. Listen to them. Legitimize and acknowledge their suffering. Offer kind words and support. Acknowledge your limitations in your ability to help them. Offer to help them find a therapist. Encourage them to see medical professionals who can prescribe medication and give them a diagnosis. Source: I'm suicidal friend. What I would like. In contradiction to many of the armchair psychologists here, just don't be a pain in the ass about it. As someone who's been there, in fact, spent months of this year crying daily, being someone who nags them to get help or keeps going on about how therefore you are, and constantly wants them to confront things, it can easily make you a pain in the ass that's just resented. It's about as useful as people who are always posting suicide hotline numbers. If you really want to do it, you're not calling someone to talk you out of it. I really suggest just sticking with being the kind of friend that made you friends in the first place. Most people don't become friends because they met someone and started having deep personal conversations about their problems. They become friends because of the enjoyable good times they've spent together. Common interests, like to go out and have a beer, shoot some pool together, go bowling. Just go with that and invite them to do those things. Even go as far as no. Mon man, we used to have so much fun. Nobody else wants to go with me. Yes, making it about you and taking the spotlight off of them is a good thing. It doesn't matter what brought you together in the first place. It could be anything from quantum mechanics discussions to a love for beer. Just bring them back to those better days. Be a reminder of what life was when they weren't feeling so bad. Don't force them to get into their reasons. They'll bring it out when ready. Maybe hint around about how you see they've been having a rough patch. That's when you get to be that person they get deep with. Acknowledge the fact that they're depressed. Tell them that you're there for them if they feel like going out again. Offer help with practical stuff if they need any. Don't force them to do fun things. Don't tell them to cheer up. Only worry when they appear suddenly at peace with the world and depression seems totally gone. It's not uncommon for suicidal people to have a short tranquil phase when they have decided to end it all and are at peace. Biggest thing for me is just being there. A lot of the time I may put out that I don't want that, but I really do. Just on my terms, so I feel comfortable. My friends know to just make themselves available when I'm in that state, and it makes a world of difference. First of all, I think it's important to keep in mind that it's not your job to cure them. Take that burden off your shoulders and focus on being there as a friend. It will help both of you in the long run. As the saying goes, don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Second, if they decide to open up to you, listen and acknowledge. I know we all have an urge to help, and it's easy to throw out quick fixes like, have you tried X? But a lot of the time validation can be more helpful. Third, don't give up on them. Depression can last a long time. Keep inviting them to stuff even if they decline. Don't answer bail again and again. It's very easy to stop inviting someone when they don't show interest, but in the long run it could be very helpful in their recovery. Best of luck to you and your friend. These things are hard. Hope you can work through it. Not advice specifically to help your friend. I think the other comments have done a good job of that, but this link may help you deal with it in the meantime. I went through the same thing. Luckily my friend is good now, and during that time it helped me a lot personally. Listen to them. Don't try to cure them. Don't try to persuade them that what they feel isn't legitimate, or it's not as bad as they think. Let them let it out. OP, you are amazing. I have PPLS on the internet Rakat who helped me during my depression and my down phase. They comfort me with just listening, or just do some deep talk with me. As said above, don't offer solutions, just listen, it works best. You are such an amazing person. If you reach out to know how to help your friends, I wish you the best. Tell them that you are always going to be there for them. Anything that crosses their mind they can talk to you about. When I suffered big time with depression, I always wanted that one person to keep pushing me, to work their way inside and finally get me to crack. I wanted that one person to show me they cared, offer reassurance and tell them when they are ready you'll help them take the next step to getting help. There is only so much you can do and everything a professional can do. It's really hard at first, but finally you get to a point where you either snap and give up, or snap and finally realize you need help. That's a huge burden to carry when having a depressed or suicidal friend. With friendships like this, it's usually like 80-20 type of friendships. It'll feel you're doing so much and they're doing so little, but to them, they are doing the best and the most they could possible. Trust me, once they get the help they need they'll never forget, and your friendship can flourish. Just listen to them. Some people just need to vent, and just try to cheer them up. Just try not to guilt trip them or threaten them like your family is going to miss you. Like a simple conversation. I'm depressed. My biggest advice is to not take their symptoms personally. Depression is exhausting. meaning we often don't have the energy to even open and respond to messages. A lot of people take this as us not wanting to talk to them, so in response they don't talk to us either. By doing this, you're just isolating us further. We want to chat with you, but sometimes we can't. Oftentimes, when we are the most silent is when we need the most help. Someone who went through severe depression a couple years back here. All I ever wanted was someone to be there for me. I just wanted someone to be my friend and to accept me for who I was. Even if I didn't want to talk, it would have been nice to have someone let me know they were there for me. You can't pressure someone with depression to open up or to get help. A lot of the time, all you can really do is let them know you're there for them. Check in on them. At least try to make them smile. That kind of stuff. But most importantly, listen to them. If they want to talk, listen. Sometimes ranting can make someone feel at least a little better. I don't have advice, but this reminds me of something I probably shouldn't laugh at. In my town there was a billboard for suicide awareness and contact info. It said, "Don't let suicide kill you. Let us help." I love my dark sense of humor.